Morning, thank you for attending. This is the public hearing for the County of Oswego Industrial Development Agency regarding the Selkirk Lighthouse and Marina LLC project. It's Monday, the 25th of August at, time check here is 9:34 a.m. We'll get started. I'll start with a project description, and then I'll ask, there's Christian Burt from the company, representing the company is here. I'll ask him to give a brief update of the project. Then we'll open it up to questions or comments after that. Selkirk Lighthouse and Marina LLC, a New York limited liability company, on behalf of itself or an entity to be formed or to be formed by it or on its behalf, submitted an application to the agency on or about July 23rd, 2025, a copy of which is on file at the office of the agency, requesting the agency consider undertaking a project for the benefit of the company. Said project consisting of the following: A1, the acquisition of a leasehold interest in approximately 2.9 acres of real property located at 812-28 County Route 5 in the town of Richland, County of Oswego, State of New York, and the renovation of two existing buildings, including to support food service and an expanded venue for picnics and events. A2, the construction of one two-story, approximately 8,100 square foot building to be comprised of 6 guest units, 5 guest units located on the first floor, 1 guest unit located on the second floor, and 1 large event space on the second floor, together with related amenities and improvements, including site work, associated parking areas, landscaping, lighting, and utility infrastructure improvements. A3, the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of various building materials, furniture, fixtures, machinery, equipment, and personal property not part of the equipment. B, the granting of certain financial assistance in the form of exemption from real property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and state and local sales and use tax. And C, the lease of the land and the facility by the company to the agency pursuant to a lease agreement, the acquisition of an interest in the equipment pursuant to a bill of sale, and the sublease of the project facility back to the company pursuant to a sublease agreement. The company will be the initial owner and operator of the project facility. The agency, the IDA, has not made a decision with respect to the undertaking of the project or the granting of financial assistance. The IDA will meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. at the agency's offices at 44 West Bridge Street in the city of Oswego to discuss this project. The resolutions for approving the benefits we're discussing today are on the agenda. So anyone with comments or interest could attend that meeting tomorrow at 1 p.m. So with that being said, we have a number of attendees today. I'll ask Christian to just give a brief overview of the project. Christian?
Sure. So one of the big projects is adding food service to the property in the existing Marina building. We just have approved for what we're calling a takeout restaurant. So this off season during the winter, we'll completely renovate that space, put in a commercial kitchen, and with the goal of doing takeout food, pizza, subs, something along those lines. It's been something that we've wanted to bring to the property for a long time. A lot of people have been asking us, all the fishermen and tourists and whatnot that come down to the property are looking to have that added to it. So that's one big part, and then the other part is adding the lodge, where the old hotel that a lot of people are very familiar with used to stand. And that will add an additional 6 units of rental space to the property. As far as completion for that, I believe we're aiming for May of 2027, but we're ready to break ground on the construction of that as soon as possible.
Great, thanks, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give an overview of the benefits that the company has applied for to support those improvements. There's 2 parts to the benefits. One is sales tax exemption on purchases, so any otherwise taxable by New York State sales tax items would be exempt for the project, up to a limit of the exemption of $174,960 of exempted sales tax. And the client has not applied for mortgage recording tax exemption, but the other part is they have applied for a pilot, which would exempt the property, but then collect payments to the taxing authorities by way of the pilot annually. It's a 10-year, what we call a 10-year non-manufacturing UTEP, which is a 10-year pilot on a declining schedule of abatements. The abatement applies only to the increase in assessment, so that the core assessed value, or today's assessed value would be charged through the pilot agreement, or in other words, taxed based on the current assessed value times the tax rates at the time, so current tax rates for the given year. That amount would be billed through the pilot plus an exempted, any of the exemption schedule applied to any increase in assessment over and above what it is today. So basically any assessment increase that came from the project would have this exemption schedule applied to it for 10 years. We anticipate the assessment to increase, so we do believe, based on our analysis, the tax revenues would increase to the taxing authorities. Although abated, there would be an increase in income. So that's basically an overview of the benefits. Any questions about the project, the benefits, the FEA process?
There's a sliding scale in the pilot.
It's a reducing abatement percentage each year. So it starts, and it only applies to the increase in assessment. So at the first 2 years, it's 60%, then drops to 50%. So the increase would be abated by 60% in the first 2 years. That increase would be 60% to 50, and 2 years at 40, 2 years at 30, 20, and 10 to finish out the 10-year schedule.
Okay.
So in year 11, the property would go back on the tax rolls at full tax and be approaching full tax during that 10-year time. Sarah and I discussed this too, that the timing of the pilot we will look at, because depending on the construction schedule, particularly with the lodge, we may, if it doesn't finish until spring of 2027, depending on the plans to reassess the property, we may not start the pilot until the first pilot payment may be actually it's spring of 2028. Right. Be on the tax roll, the normal tax rolls for school tax of, I'm getting my years running together here, 27, 28 would be, 26, 27 would be full tax. Let me think. If it was exempted in March of 2027, school tax of 26, 27 would be normal, and then for 27, 28 would be, the first pilot payment would be in March of 2028.
If construction's done by spring of 27, otherwise it could almost go another year.
It potentially could, right?
Okay.
We know how these projects can go,
Yep.
winter weather and everything else, so,
Okay.
and I know can be impactful to the school. Ed, did that answer your question?
It did.
We got kind of onto another topic, but. Sarah, do you have any other questions or comments from the school district side?
No, you had gotten some of the information from you beforehand, and I've looked that over, and no, I think it's great. We're excited about it and everything. It's just that timing of the pilot and when that hits into our into our financials and how that impacts. It's just so that we can be aware and plan accordingly, right? So that's all. I'm trying to just get a good handle on that and to understand when that potentially hits into our calculation for our taxes. So no, it's great. 10-year pilot.
So I had one too.
What's that? Sorry.
So when she's done, I
Okay.
just wanted to make a comment.
So likely scenario, Sarah's will close the pilot, and you'll get a copy, of course, like you do, but it'll have that advanced start date on it. But we'll talk some more about that as move into closing, get the owner involved in that discussion as well.
Okay.
The risk is the risk to the project is if the assessment is increased partially during that time, say because of the improvements to the Marina building, the pilot, if we delay the start of the pilot, it wouldn't benefit you for that increase in assessment. But when the pilot kicked in, it would start to abate that increase, and so we'd still use the current today's assessment as the base. The advantage, there's pros and cons of that, so we can discuss that as we get ready to close.
Yeah, I see.
Ed, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted, for the record, my name's Ed Gilson, County Legislator, Oswego County, for the town of Richland. I'm here today because I'm firmly supporting this project. We've seen a lot of the improvements and investments in the village town of Richland have been government funded lately, and it's encouraging to see a private investor take on a project as important as this is. Not only does it align with one of our key industries, but it also helps support one of the most historic sites we have in the town of Richland, one of the most photographed historic sites in the town of Richland. So I'm squarely behind this, and I just wanted that to be on the record.
Thank you, Ed.
Yep.
Appreciate you coming today. Any other questions or comments?
No, I think you answered everything.
Great. Then I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you for attending. I'll turn the camera off.
All right, thank you.